You ready?
Most people, when they think of communication, they think of a conversation. In reality, you can have a conversation through books and music and art and plays and poems. And the Harlem Renaissance did just that. The Harlem Renaissance took place in the 1920s, and one of the main things it did was encourage cultural understanding. When you're in a class and a student doesn't understand something, the teacher has to take a new perspective and try to teach it a different way. And that's what these three people did. They taught through music, through poetry, and through books. These three people are Louis Armstrong, a musician and a trumpeter, Zora Neale Hurston, who was an author, and Langston Hughes, who was a poet and a playwright. Langston Hughes, I Too Sing America, I Am the Darker Brother, from his poem, I Too. It spoke a lot about how he is equal but treated unjust, despite the fact that he is also an American. But that's not the only thing he talked about. A lot of times he talked about his childhood and how he felt he was at such a great disadvantage from the very beginning. He also talked about how mothers never wanted to give birth to their children because the lives that they were going to give them weren't lives worth living. Now, Zora Neale Hurston, she did something kind of interesting. She wrote with dialect, such as books like Mice and Men, that had a lot of dialect in it, which can be hard to understand, and a lot of white people consider dialect to be a really dumbed down version of English, when that's not in reality what it was. It was almost just a different form of English, a different language. In her book, Their Eyes Were Watching God, the main character, Janie, is rescued by her current love interest, Tea Cake. When he asks if she would be mad if he couldn't save her, she says, "If you can see delight at daybreak, you don't cur if you die at dusk." It is so many people never see delight at all. Which, of course, sounds kind of weird when you say it, but it's a conversation about mortality. How if she could see the daybreak, if she could see the light in the world, she would be okay with death. Because a lot of people never see the light. And that would be a pretty deep conversation. Mortality is a really hard subject to wrap your head around. And this very line proves that despite a dialect, it doesn't make you dumber. You can still be just as intelligent. And that made a lot of pushes for her because a lot of people looked at it and suddenly understood. Now, Louis Armstrong was a very small musician that grew very quickly in fame. And one of the great things he did was bridge the music gap. And how did he bridge the music gap? Well, I can prove it. Songs that he has today are Saints Go Marching In, What a Wonderful World, and Baby It's Cold Outside. Exactly, we sing it to this day, and it doesn't matter what you look like, you still sing it every winter. And one of the great things about that is he did bring in different communities of people together despite what they looked like or what they thought of one another. Music is just, again, another way of communicating. The Harlem Renaissance brought a lot of beautiful things, and its greatest significance is that it enabled African Americans to show their abilities in music and literature and art and all these forms of communication, which again just promoted cultural understanding. And it's probably the reason that we're as far along as civil rights as we are today. Thank you for listening.
Any questions for Devin? Please got any questions? Okay.